Hello, and welcome to my first episode of Missing Miles podcast, podcast about missing and unsolved cases. I am Gary Howard. I am the host of Truck Stop Murder and True Crime Podcasts. Hopefully, you go and check that out. Enjoy, rate, and review. Also, rate and review here is this podcast is still in the making. I'm hoping to get better. I'm just a small independent podcaster, podcasting out of my truck. So, without further ado, today's case brings us to Riverside County, California. Now, this is a missing person case. A wealthy ranch owner goes missing under suspicious circumstances, and we will get into it as we go along with the podcast. Lydia Abrams, 65. She went by Dia. Joyfully dropped off cinnamon rolls to a neighbor on the morning of June 6, 2020. 5.5 hours later, she went missing from her 117-acre ranch in San Jacinto Mountains. Dia married Clem Abrams in 1984, and they had two children, Clinton and Cassara. Dia liked to travel and enjoyed hiking and exploring national parks. Dia's children described her as a sweet, caring, kind person who adored animals and always had a lot of heart. Clem owned a, remember that later on from what her kids do. But yeah, Clem owned a 116-acre ranch property known as Bonita Vista Ranch. 2015, Clem reinstated a trust that he created in 1991. In 2018, Clem died after a long-term illness. As part of Clem's final wishes, Dia inherited the family ranch. During this same time, Dia was in the midst of a court battle with her adult children over Clem's estate, who were nominated as co-trustees and executors of the estate. Prior to Dia's disappearance, she was trying to evaluate the 1984 prenup agreement the couple had signed. When Dia signed the prenup agreement, she was 4 months pregnant and in the process of planning her wedding. Clem wanted her to sign a prenup, and Dia felt obligated to do so. For the agreement, Dia's income during the marriage would remain her property, and while Clem's income during the marriage would remain his property. So what she made was hers, and what he made was his. After divorce, they didn't get not. There's no 50-50. Clem encouraged Dia not to work, and he had complete financial control. Dia did not acquire any significant income during the property of her own, but Clem was incredibly wealthy. So I guess it's one of the things where she thought that he would live forever, but he didn't. And when he died, she lost. So following Clem's death, Dia inherited some of Clem's property along with a maternal trust. In addition to trying to validate the prenup, Dia was seeking 6.7 million from her late husband's estate to fund a maternal trust. However, Clinton and Kursara filed opposition to their mother's request. The same one who said that she was lovey. Dia met Keith Harper on FarmersOnly.com. Yep, her alleged fiance in 2016, and not long after he moved in with her. By 2019, the two were engaged. So, on the day that she had went missing, on May 22nd, 2020, Diaz signed over a series of property transfers, which include a parcel which elaborate ranch houses in Apple Canyon, a nearby house to the west of the ranch, and another house in Garner Valley, where friends said Dia kept some of her horses. The trust was not recorded in the document, therefore the inheritance remains unknown. On the morning of June 6, 2020, Dia was captured honoring footage delivering cinnamon rolls to neighbors that was undergoing treatment. The footage was released 3 years later. That afternoon, Dia and Keith ate lunch together at 2:30 p.m. That was the last time Keith saw Dia. Keith was doing work on the property, By the way, everybody who talks about Keith said he was a real prick, real racist, and treated a lot of the workers like slaves. Not really, so keep an eye on him. Deanna and Keith had plans to take a trip to Colorado the next day. When he returned to property, Dia could not be located. Keith tried calling her, but found her phone charging in the bedroom. Dia had mentioned that she was going to the lower part of the property, but when he walked around, he saw Dia's truck, which worried him because that was Dia's only means of mode of transportation. Dia was reported missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Office on June 7th, 2020, with the help of River Mountain Rescue Unit. Authorities searched the ranch and the surrounding areas. They were unable to locate Dia. While searching, authorities discovered a marijuana greenhouse, which I'm kind of confused about because I thought it was legal by this time in California. But I guess it was a legal grow. There was no documentations, no permits or nothing. So on June 8th, 2020, Keith Hopper packed up his RV and left for 7 days. He tells Deanna Feder, a friend of Diaz, that he has to be checking with his probation officer. This statement is later determined to be inconsistent with previous testimony Keith provided. The next day, authorities obtained a search warrant for the marijuana greenhouse located on the property and for Keith's RV and RV storage facility. By the way, they had like a lot of Airbnbs that they had rented out, so it belonged to some of these people. Investigators, well, on his property, they seized 2,389 marijuana plants and 357 pounds of processed marijuana. Authorities also seized two spent bullet casings, a tan bed sheet, a band-aid, and a piece of toilet tissue with all possible blood on them, two handwritten letters, and a Netgear router. According to Feder, Dia was aware that the plants were being grown on the property by tenants, but wanted nothing to do with it and kept collecting the rent. If the police were, you probably thought the same with me, since weed, cannabis, recreational is legal. At that time, I believe in California, she didn't think nothing of it, probably. The police were suspicious of Keith for leaving in the midst of the search of Dia. Foul play was, of course, suspected. August 2020, the Riverside Sheriff's Department confirmed that they are investigating the disappearance of 6 people, including Dia, in and around Idlewood, Pine Grove. Luckily, 2 of the missing people were found, so that's good. Not long after Dia went missing, another woman, Jody Newkirk, died on the ranch on December 23rd, 2021. Jody was staying at the ranch, and Keith Harper was her landlord. It is estimated that Jody started working on the ranch 4 months prior to this. Jody was also renting a property on the ranch that belonged to Dia. Keith told police he saw Jody going to cut down a Christmas tree on the property and was riding the ATV. Approximately half an hour later, he found Jody under the ATV. When police arrived on the scene, it was treated as a homicide. An autopsy and toxicology report showed that Jody died from a meth overdose. She had 3.5 milligrams of meth per liter of blood in her system, which probably seems like a lot. Jody was a longtime drug user who started at the age of 15. Regardless, this was a huge quantity in her system, even for someone with a history of drug use. Authorities are still unclear if Jody administered the meth herself or if someone administered it to her. But while Jody's family was going through her belongings, they found a series of handwritten notes. Some of them dated. It is alleged that Jody and Keith may have been in a relationship. Months after Dia's disappearance, Jody wrote a letter note to both Dia and Keith. In the later statement, September 22nd, 2021, it says, "Dear Dia and Harper, so even though we never met, I really feel a bond with you. I know it's very possible you may not feel the same. You may just hate my guts, but I hope from the bottom bottom and all my heart that you realize that I truly love you and yours, all of your animals, friends, and home possessions, and even Harper's best interests at heart. Right now, I am totally and completely screwing up my life as far as my legal, my social security, my personal relationship, though it was already. And I know so far it has been a challenge to get the right people and get moving in the right direction and get out of the red, and maybe Harper can take better care of himself so he can be around here for you when you come home. And honestly think you will be coming home. I hope you like me. P.S. I just want to say thank you so much to you and Harper both, because it was been a lifesaver to me. It's been giving me a purpose again and believe again. So yeah, that was a letter. So clearly Keith had a little relationship with her. I mean, Jody's case to this day remains open and unsolved, and foul play has been ruled out according to police. But a lot of people really think that Keith has something to do with it. Right afterwards, he decided he had to leave, and the way he really treated a lot of workers, and with this death that's really been considered as an overdose, it sounds like he's not telling the whole truth about a lot of stuff. Dia Abrams' case remains unsolved, and no remains has ever been found. While Dia has not been declared legally deceased, court documents have suggested that it in the family's belief. Dia Abrams is a white female with blonde hair, blue eyes. She is 5'5" tall, 5'5" tall, weighs approximately 130 pounds. Dia has a surgical scar on the abdomen and a scar on the lower back, extending from her hip to hip. Her ears are pierced. Her nickname is Dia, like I've been saying, and most accounts refer to her by her name. She was Dia. Dia, if anything with associated with her as Dia. She was last seen wearing a black and turquoise windbreaker jacket, a yellow shirt, blue jeans, and 4 rings on her right hand. Of course, if you have any information regarding the disappearance of Dia, please contact the Riverside County Sheriff's Office at 951-955-245. Again, her description is she was missing June 6, 2020, age 65. Her height is 5'5". Birthday July 6, 1954. She's white, 130 pounds. Age right now would be 69. Female with blonde hair. All these. I don't have a Facebook group right now for Missing Miles, but I will have that soon. But if you want to know information about this, go to my Truck Stop Murder and True Crime podcast, and you will see some of that. So if you want more information about this, go to Missing in America. It's Missing Linda Dia Abrams. Also, you could listen to some of these podcasts, which I am about to tell you about. I had to scroll down. Like I said, let's get to the podcasts. The first one I got a lot of my information from is True Crime with Kendall Ray. It's on a YouTube channel, or Down the Rabbit Hole. Her episode was January 10th, 2023. Down the Rabbit Hole was August 15th, 2022. Where Are They? The Unsolved Disappearance of Lydia Abrams. Bite-Sized Crime podcast covered it. Also, Dateline Missing in America. These are podcasts that have covered if you want more information that I had given out. But yep, this is my first episode of Missing Miles. They will get better. I'm kind of learning the missing part of it, everything. And actually, I'm just trying to get in podcasts all together and trying to get better at this. So if you like that, please write and review wherever you can find it at this moment. There's going to be more places where you can find it in the future. But thank you for listening. Have a good day. Let's find Dia.